Today's speaker is inspiring, uplifting, and passionate about the importance of financial literacy, reading, and entrepreneurship. He likes to say that he is just a kid from the Bronx, but the impact that Tys makes on all that he does is awe-inspiring. He's a children's book author, publisher, literacy advocate, and a TEDx speaker. He's the co-founder of the Read or Else movement, created to highlight the problem of literacy and to provide books to children in homeless shelters across the country. And if that's not enough, he, along with a professor in Kentucky, founded Danny Dollar Academy, a program created to educate elementary school students from low-income communities about the importance of finance and entrepreneurship through his book, Danny Dollar Millionaire Extraordinaire. In all that he does, Tys Jackson shows children the power of using their imagination while working really hard to achieve all that they dream about. I am thrilled to see the impact, not only in the near term, but the future, of how our community, both individually as well as in collaboration, can benefit from all this person has to offer. I was honored that Tys said yes to being our Pay It Forward speaker. And I hope you enjoy learning about his personal and professional journey from being that kid in the Bronx to finding the roads, and I say roads, that brought him to our community. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Tys Jackson.
That guy sounds awesome. I don't think my mother could have introduced me better, so thank you, my friend. First thing I want to do is really acknowledge how I got here in the first place. Well, here in the micro, I'll talk about the macro later. I'll tell you how I got here. You know what, let's just get it out the way. I lived in Western Massachusetts about a year and a half ago, and then on TikTok, I met the most beautiful woman I had ever seen, slid in her DMs like every loser, and for whatever reason, she decided to speak back to me. It was just a couple of days before Valentine's Day. We had a virtual Valentine's date to get to know each other better. A month later, I flew down, met her, the next day we fell in love. This person is right here. So the next time someone says TikTok is for losers, say, I beg to differ. But in coming here and really loving the city of Fresno, I started to make some connections. Can you hear me okay? I feel like it's in and out. So one of the first connections I made, and I'll talk about this relationship with the United Ways that I have across the country, I reached out to United Way of Fresno. I met my amazing new friend, Sean DeBach. After meeting him, Sean introduced me to the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce, where I met Matt Gillian, who is also running for city council. He introduced me to Michael Centrapak. I knew I was going to screw it up. Who is running this amazing program that I have such synergy with of Children's Entrepreneur Fair, which I'll talk a little bit about a little more later. She introduced me to Professor Emil. Right there. Who introduced me to you. Yay. So those 6 degrees of separation are the things that got me here, which is a little bit about the entrepreneurial path that I'm going to talk about a little later on. But I wanted to acknowledge every single one of those people who happen to be in this room. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How grateful I am for this connection, for this opportunity, and for this friendship. Yes, this is going to be a long conversation. Let's get the party started. So, to start the party, I am very social media savvy, which is how I met my lady. And so hoping that we're going to have a lot of social media connection here, I created a hashtag of PIF and then today's date. So anything that you love to hear, something that inspired you, something that motivated you, and you want to share it with social media, please use that hashtag. And if there's something negative that you didn't like, keep it to yourself. But feel free to follow me on Instagram as my primary means of social media. Look for the blue check mark. And also, you've got my email and websites for any other ways of staying connected. And I'm kind of feeling a little something right now. Would you guys like to do a little TikTok with me? Hands up if you don't mind doing a little TikTok with me. Okay, so there's this song I found. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a transition, because before I started, the room was completely empty. So then I was going to do a swipe transition, and then everybody was going to be in this room. You got it? But what I want you to do is after I swipe, is I want you just to do a little dance. Can you do that for me? You don't have to get up unless you want to. But I'm going to swipe, and after I swipe, everybody just wave your hands in the air. How about that? Because that's nice and simple and easy, because I saw somebody get real nervous about dancing. You didn't look like I'm not dancing. So, all right, you guys ready? Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. Not bad. You guys are pros. So, as much as I love that introduction, I want to introduce myself. My name is Allan Jackson. And I am one of the happiest people on the planet because I live in my purpose. That purpose is being a children's book author and motivational speaker to children to help them become the best versions of themselves. When I became an independent author, I had to find an illustrator because I can't even make a good stick figure. So when I found my illustrator and he created and brought my characters to life, I asked if he could make an illustration of me. And he sent me that. And I said, dude, that looks like an old hairy M&M with glasses. And he said, dude, you look like an old hairy M&M with glasses. And I said, dude, you're kind of right. I kind of do look like an old hairy M&M with glasses. That image always makes me laugh. I'm glad it made you laugh too. As much as being an author is my purpose, my primary purpose is being a father to 3 of the most amazing human beings I've ever known. To the left is my daughter, Asia, who graduated a couple years ago from, I should know where all my money went, Central Connecticut State in Connecticut. And she got a degree in sports medicine. She really wanted to play for the WNBA, but she was blessed with her father's height. So that wasn't going to happen. So she figured if she couldn't play with the ball players, she could repair the ball players. So she's got a degree in sports medicine. In the middle is my son, who I like to dub the son you want your daughter to date. He is just the nicest, most mature guy and one of the best chefs I've ever experienced. And to the right is my youngest, Aaliyah, who is currently a junior in Siena College. I know that college because I know that's where my money is currently going. And she is one of the funniest human beings I've ever known. And these are my 3 kids, but this is my adopted family. This is my love, Nani, who I met on TikTok, and her 3 criminally insane children. I'm sure that somewhere there's some certificate showcasing that they're escaping from some type of mental institution. But I love them all remarkably, and I'm so grateful that they invited me into their family and into their lives. So my other job is that of being a children's book author, and I have 6 books. And did I mention I have kids in college? All my books are for sale in the back, so make sure to hook a brother up. If you have Disney Plus, you can see me on a program called the Marvel Heroes Project. It tells you a little bit about my connection with a young man who created this amazing book club called Books and Bros. I've done 3 TEDx's. I have my books turned into plays and musicals. And like I said, I'm a pretty happy guy. I'm also the co-founder of the Read or Else movement to help shed a light on illiteracy and how it impacts our culture and our society. With each purchase, we send a book to a child in a homeless shelter or Title I school. I'm really, really proud of that program. So I want to talk about the how, the what's, and the why of me becoming an entrepreneur and an author. And it's impossible to tell that story without talking about my childhood. Like was mentioned, I was born and raised in the Bronx. Go Yankees. Go Aaron Judge, right? Yeah, that's what's up. And so this was my mom. She was 15 years old when she had me. She was so naive, she didn't even know how she got pregnant. A year later, she got pregnant again and figured it out. So by the time she was 17, she had 2 kids. We were on welfare for the majority of my childhood, and my father was incarcerated until I was a teenager. We really didn't have very much, but I had 2 primary things that were just the foundation of who I am today. One, I had my mother's love. She is still, to this day, my best friend and my hero. And I also had books, because we couldn't always afford to go out to the movies or even have a television, but one thing we could always afford is go to the library and get books, as she would say it, for free 99. So she would carry as many books as she could, and she would spread them across her bed, and it felt like a throne. When you sit on your parents' bed, it feels like this majestic place. And my mother would take these books, and she would read them with such energy and such enthusiasm. It was literally like watching a Broadway show right in front of me. And then that's where I really embraced the joy and the power of reading, and really helped me become the writer and reader that I am today. This is my mom now. She's super cute, right? Problem is, she knows it. Like she knows she's really cute, and she takes more selfies than I do, and that's a lot of selfies. So being born and raised in the Bronx under those circumstances, things aren't always peachy keen, but again, I would not trade my childhood for anyone. It really was the foundation of who I am. And one of those things was I literally got to witness the conception, the birth, the growth, and development of hip-hop music. I literally watched hip-hop be born right in front of me, and had the pleasure of being a part of that narrative, actually being in a hip-hop group that did nothing, by the way. Don't try to look me up, because there's nothing to find. But finding inner city kids who once were voiceless to create their own genre that literally became one of the most powerful entities in the world is definitely something that I hold so important to helping me find my own voice. And again, it's really one of the things that inspired me to become the best versions of myself. So I want to fast forward from being this little kid to about 15 years ago, when my son, he was 8 years old at the time, and he asked me a question that would change my life. He simply said, "Dad, can we open up a lemonade stand?" Now, we lived at that time in Boston, in Western Massachusetts. But remember, I'm from the Bronx. You don't do lemonade stands in the Bronx. It just kind of doesn't work that way. But now living in Western Massachusetts, everybody does lemonade stands. So me and my cute little son, we got a cardboard box, a pitcher of lemonade, the tablecloths, and the little umbrellas. You got to have the little umbrellas. And in 3 hours, he made $50 selling lemonade. I'm thinking we'll make $5, $6, go get some ice cream, call it a day. But $50 is a whole new conversation, in which he said, "Dad, what am I going to do with all this money?" And I said, "I don't know." But my mother always taught me when I don't know the answer to a question, I can find that answer in a book. So I went to my local bookstore to try to find a book to teach my son about what to do with his $50. I went to the Barnes & Nobles in my community, and you've all been to a Barnes & Noble. When you go into a Barnes & Nobles, you notice there's these big giant tables, and it's like mystery books and horror books. And as I was walking to the children's book section, there was a table that said teen books. And it had a bunch of books that looked like this. And they were all lovely coming-of-age stories of kids holding hands and frolicking in the flowers and stuff like that. And as you can see, all of the characters that were on this book, on this table, they were white, except for one book, this book. You notice something a little different about the cover of that book versus the other books that are there? I noticed, in which I went and spoke to the manager, and I don't want to use the words here that I used with the manager. But needless to say, it was very frustrating and eye-opening seeing how the world of literature portrays people of color. But that's not why I'm there. I'm there to find a book to teach my son about the importance of finance and entrepreneurship and what to do with his $50. So I go to the back of the bookstore, and I notice 2 things. One, there's almost no books teaching kids about money, right? I mean, we all could agree, money, kind of important, right? The second thing I noticed, there were so few books featuring children of color in a positive contemporary way. There was plenty of, me and Jackie Robinson and Underground Railroads and stuff like that with children of color on the cover, but no fun, energetic, contemporary books. Boom! I got an idea. At first, I thought I could find somebody to write a children's book that teaches kids about finance and entrepreneurship with a young kid that looked like my son on the cover. But then I thought about the quote from Gandhi, "To be the change, you wish to see in the world. So if you want to see something exist in the world, the person to start it should be you. So if I wanted to see a book teaching kids about money, that person should be me. Right there, the name Danny Dollar just popped into my head. I went home and started writing. Now, I've never written a book before. I have a degree in nothing. And so writing, I've always been an avid reader, but never really a very good writer. But I found such passion and joy in writing this story. It took me about a good year to write this story titled Danny Dollar. So after a year, I knew that I wanted to get this published. Now, if you want to get your book published, this is what you have to do. You have to find an agent. If the agent likes your book, they'll give it to a publisher. If the publisher likes the book, they'll turn it into a book. I submitted my Danny Dollar manuscript to 147 agents from New York to California, and I was rejected 147 times from New York to California. Nobody wanted to publish my book. So I figured I got two choices. Choice number one, I could dream about what might have been, or I could figure out how to do it myself. So I went to Google, and I typed in, how do you self-publish a book? And it gave me amazing guides and resources for me to start my own publishing company. I named that company Big Head Books. You can see why. But 2 years after my son said, hey, Dad, can we open up a lemonade stand? This book was born. And it was one of the proudest days of my life, because it made me realize that this knucklehead kid from the Bronx, who was born from a single mom, whose father was incarcerated for most of his childhood, who was on welfare until he was a teenager, who doesn't have a degree in anything, if he puts his mind to it, he can accomplish anything in the world. Now, creating a book is actually the easy part. Getting the world to know that your book exists, that's the hard part. So, as a kid from the Bronx, there's one thing I know how to do really well: hustle. So, like Jay-Z would put his mixtapes in the trunk of a car, I took my books in the trunk of a car and just started peddling them. Every elementary school, every YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, elementary schools, financial industries, anything and everything that had to do with children or financial literacy, I knocked on that door. In 1 month, I sold over 1,000 copies of that book, just hustling. The second month, I reached out to Carver Bank in New York City. They're the largest black-owned bank in the country. I sent a letter along with this book to the CEO of the company, and I said, I think this book is an amazing tool for you to teach the children of your community about finance and entrepreneurship. 2 weeks later, she called me personally and said, I love this book. Would you please come to Harlem, talk to the children of our community about finance and entrepreneurship, and oh, by the way, can we buy 1,000 copies? Yes, you can. I quit my job that day. That day, I knew why I was here. My purpose in life was to write children's books and inspire children around the world to become the best versions of themselves. But I want to tell you a little bit about the success of this little book that 147 professional agents and publishers rejected. First of all, I've sold 150,000 copies of this book alone, and over 250,000 copies of all of my books overall. Yeah, you can clap. What the heck? Hello? That's pretty awesome. This book was also turned into a serial story that reached over 5 million children across the country. It was turned into a musical with over 50 performances in Western Massachusetts. And to literally see the physical manifestation of my character on stage was one of the greatest moments of my career. You can clap again. That's what's up. I love. And to look upon the audience and having kids holding up little Danny Dollar signs is just one of the feelings I will never, ever, ever forget. But I'm also proud to say that Danny Dollar is also the foundation of a program called Danny Dollar Academy. It's a financial literacy program that I created with an economics professor from Northern Kentucky University. We did it for about 3 years before it got noticed by the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is now running Danny Dollar Academy in the Cleveland area to inspire kids to learn about finance and entrepreneurship. See, now you got it. Now you got it. So at the end of Danny Dollar Academy, which is about a 4-week program, the kids get to create their own business. One of the business they created was personalized motivational rocks. They sold about $1,500 worth of these rocks and then donated that $15 to a homeless shelter in their community, which is pretty awesome. And what's also pretty awesome is that publisher actually took notice, finally, of how well I was doing and asked if I would write a spin-off of that Danny Dollar book. That book is titled Make Your Own Money, which is a guide to virtually teach kids how to make their own money. And I'm really, really proud of this book because it's the book that I wish I had when I was a kid, growing up in the hood with no resources to teach me about financial literacy. So this book, I'm really proud. It literally asks the question, what is money, and breaks it down. In addition, it teaches kids how to earn money. Once they earn it, how do they save it? How do they spend it? And my favorite chapter is to dream bigger, which I think encouraging our kids to help them become the best versions of themselves. Did I mention these books are on sale in the back? I'm just saying. At the end of every chapter, we showcase a young entrepreneur who's doing their own thing in the world, like my good friend Michaela Ulmer here, who started Be Sweet Lemonade. And so I want kids to be able to realize that making their own money just isn't a superficial thing. Like, you can actually create your own business. And so I really love, at the end of every chapter, it showcases a young entrepreneur who is really changing the world. In the back of the book as well, there are worksheets where kids can literally start their own business, which then gave me an idea. That idea spanned into the Danny Dollar Entrepreneur Fair. Think of exactly like a science fair, but instead of kids demonstrating how a light bulb lights or how a volcano erupts, they're showcasing their ideas for business. I launched it last year in Western Massachusetts. This is over 500 students, all fifth graders in Western Massachusetts, all showcasing their ideas for business stemming from the Danny Dollar book, Make Your Own Money. Well, just seeing how excited these kids were to demonstrate their ideas for a business was so powerful. And what was really equally powerful is that these businesses that these kids created, albeit most of them were mock businesses, some of them were actual businesses, but the majority of them were mock businesses. But what was really important, that it showcased their strengths. It showcased the things they enjoyed to do. This wasn't something an assignment their teacher gave them or a parent suggested. We emphasized that we want you to utilize your strengths to create a business. Here we have a trifold where a kid created their own tie-dye shirts. And here a young girl had created a little cupcake business. And here this little girl, like, video of your business and how awesome and beautiful it is. Now let's get you in the picture. So cute! To seeing how enthusiastic these kids are about showcasing their own ideas for a business was everything to me. And it is my objective, it is my purpose to create this program on such a scale that it is in every elementary school in the country, because all of our kids need to learn not necessarily about how to become an entrepreneur, but how to have an entrepreneurial mindset. And I think having that mindset is going to be the difference between them becoming the best versions of themselves. So those things are very much the what of my business. My books, the programs, those are my whats. I want to talk a little bit about the why. As I was becoming an author and showcasing my books, I discovered a lot of kids didn't like reading. And it's that lack of love for reading that inspired me to learn a lot about illiteracy and the impacts of what happens when our kids don't and can't read. And when I came across this, it really blew my mind. And it states simply that the link between academic failure, delinquency, and violence and crime is connected to reading failure. And that comes from our Department of Justice. This is our government telling us that reading is directly connected with so many of the things that ail our country. For example, do you realize there are 32 million adults in this country today that cannot read above a third grade level? That absolutely blows my mind. And what do you think happens with those people who cannot read and fill out a job application or fill out a prescription? Well, you don't want them filling out prescriptions, but you know what I mean. So we're doing a huge disservice to many of our adults by not promoting the importance of reading. And when I came across specifically this first statistic, it really blew my mind. That 2 out of 3 kids who cannot read proficiently by the 3rd grade will end up incarcerated or on welfare. I want to repeat that. 2 out of 3 kids who cannot read by a 3rd grade level are going to go to jail. That sends chills down my spine. To align with that, 85% of kids who go through the judicial system today are functionally illiterate. And over 70% of inmates today cannot read above a third grade level. Illiteracy is directly connected to many of the things that ail our country and that trickle down into things like mass incarceration, and which anything that impacts our country in a negative way impacts people of color substantially more, especially in the prison system. And that's one of the reasons why I co-created another program. That program is titled FULL. FULL stands for Families United Through the Love of Literacy. With this program, we meet with 10 participants. We don't like to say inmates. We meet with 10 participants, and we showcase to them the power and the importance of reading. We give them copies of my book, When I Close My Eyes. We record them reading that book and coach them, because some of them need coaching on how to read. And then we take that video along with the copy of the book, and we send it to their child so they can have their mom or dad reading them a story whenever they want. And I like to showcase what that program looks like.
Hey, Jaquez. What's going on, little man? I miss you, man. I'm about to get into this story. It's a very good story. It's a story by Allan Jackson, illustrated by Jonathan Shears, called When I Close My Eyes. Good morning to me. It's a beautiful day. Time to get dressed and go out and play. Wanna go play, Ja? Let's have a little bit of fun. Although I love my world, outside is so much fun when I close my eyes. You miss going to the park with me, don't you? Don't worry, we'll be back at the park soon. When I close my eyes, I'm so far away. In the middle of the jungle is where I love to play. See the monkeys, Ja? You like the monkeys, don't you? I can hang around with a monkey and play cards with a cheetah, break dance with a gorilla, or put spots on the zebra. You like to paint? Quite sure you do. I miss painting with you too. Play house with an elephant while making fajitas. Have a tea party with a rhino whose name is Juanita. I'm having so much fun. Oh, how time flies. To be back at the park, I just open my eyes. Although I love my world inside, it's nothing like when I close my eyes. Bath time, Ja. Know you like to get in the water. Sort of like your own swimming pool, ain't it? When I close my eyes, I'm so far away. In the middle of the ocean is where I love to play. Wanna go swimming? There are fish and coral and creatures of the sea. They look so strange, they look nothing like me. I see sharks and turtles and octopi too. There are rays and crabs and a whale that's blue. I give a high five to a starfish, have a race with a seahorse. And who wins the race? Well, you, of course. I ain't gonna tell nobody. I'm having so much fun, or how time flies. For me to go home, I just open my eyes. Although I love my world of nighttime skies, it's nothing like when I close my eyes. Bedtime, not a good time of the night for you, huh? When I close my eyes, I'm so far away. Amongst the stars is where I love to play. Floating around in outer space, feeling the rays of the moon all over my face. Hey, Ja, you see the moon smiling, man? You got a teddy bear too? I could play catch with the earth or ride a moon ray. Play ring toss with Saturn as Venus does ballet. Play a bizarre guitar with my good friend Mars, or get an autograph from some really big stars. I'm having so much fun, oh how time flies. To be back in bed, I just open my eyes. Good night to me. I had a beautiful day. I think I closed my eyes and dreamed the night away. The end. Well, Ja, I'll be there with you soon, man. Kiss you on your forehead. Wish you a good night. I love you, little man. Always remember, with wings, you soar. By reading, you explore. See you soon. Love you.
in that particular jail, or rather in the state of Western Massachusetts is where I predominantly did that program, the recidivism rate was 47%. So virtually 47% of everyone who got out came back. Within the 600 participants that participated in the full program, we were at 8% recidivism. The advocacy for promoting literacy is my huge why. And it always feels like I'm fighting against the industry that should be supporting me. The most recent study done showcases that almost 80% of all children's books published feature either a white or an ambiguous character like a dinosaur or an elephant, and leaving the rest divvied up between other cultures. And that really took to light reminded me when I was a kid. When I was a kid growing up, the Super Friends by far was my favorite show. It was like something, I loved superheroes. I wanted to emulate every superhero, and the Super Friends were by far like the thing that I gravitated to the most. But the one thing I never ever realized is that none of those superheroes look like me. None of them. Until one magical day, I turned on ABC and I saw something that literally changed the way that I saw the world and the way that I saw myself. And that thing was Schoolhouse Rock. Raise your hands if you remember Schoolhouse Rock. Not a millennial here has no clue what we're talking about. Schoolhouse Rock was this amazing format that happened at the end of a program just before the commercials. It was about 2 minutes long, and it taught you everything about government, about math, about learning, just about everything. And it was the very first time that I saw a superhero that looked like me. And that superhero was titled Verb. And for those who didn't, or who saw it and don't remember, or for those who've never seen it, I want to introduce you to the very first black superhero I ever saw, Verb.
I get my thing in action. To be, to see, to feel, to live.
That's what's happening.
I put my heart in action. To run, to go, to get, to give.
You're what's happening.
That's where I find satisfaction, yeah.
Yeah.
To search, to find, to have, to hold.
To be bold.
When I use my imagination, I think, I plot, I plan, I dream, turning in towards creation. I make, I write, I dance, I sing, when I'm feeling really active. I run, I ride, I swim, I fly, other times when life is easy. I rest, I sleep, I sit, I lie.
Verb, that's what's happening.
I can take a noun and bend it, give me a noun.
Back, forth, break and plow.
Make it a verb and really send it.
Show me how.
Oh, I don't know my own power. I get my thing in action, in being, in doing, and saying. A verb expresses action, being or a state of being.
A verb makes a statement.
Yeah, a verb tells it like it is. I can tell you when it's happening.
Past, present, future tense.
Ooh, tell you more about what's happening.
Say it so it makes some sense.
Oh, I can tell you who is happening.
Verb, you're so intense.
Hey, every sentence has a subject.
Noun, person, place, or thing.
Find that subject, where's the action?
Verb can make a subject sing.
Take a subject, what is it? What's done to it? What does it say? I can question like, what is it?
Verb, you're so demanding.
I can order like, go get it.
Verb, you're so commanding.
When I hit, I need an object.
Verb, hit the ball.
Ooh, when I see the object.
Do you see that bird ball?
If you can see it, then put the ball over the fence, man. Go ahead on. Yeah, all right. What? He hit it. It's called did my thing in action.
That's what's happening.
To work, to play, to live, to love.
I still goosebump. I still goosebump every time I see that video. I've seen it 1,000 times. And every time I goosebump because I remember being that little kid sitting in front of my little black and white TV. Yes, we used to have black and white TVs. And not only did I get to see a superhero that looked like me for the first time, I got to see me. That was me. I was that little kid who went to the movies. I was that little kid that was great at school. I was that little kid who ran home to his mom and jumped into her arms. That was me. It was the first time that I ever saw myself represented in the way that defines me in my current place of who I am as a person, and literally changed the way that I saw the world, because I mattered now. I saw myself, and I was important. And so now it is my job. Oh, I've got ahead of myself. So in addition to seeing myself as that little kid, it was also important to see myself as a superhero. Spider-Man is by far my favorite superhero. And there's a reason. Because there's something special about Spider-Man that's different from almost every other superhero, but has nothing to do with his powers. What is it?
More iconic?
No. What's different about Spider-Man? Think of all of the Avengers. What's different about Spider-Man that's different from almost every other superhero or Avenger? Say it again. He's a kid. He's a kid. He was a kid from Queens, technically. But I was a kid from the Bronx. And he was a dorky kid who loved science and was awkward around girls. I was a dorky kid that really loved science and was awkward around girls. I could literally see myself as Peter Parker, the same way I saw myself in Verb. It really made me realize that representation matters. And representation, unfortunately, grew a little bit where I actually got to see myself as, and not necessarily an A-list superhero, but at least a B-list with Luke Cage. Anyone familiar with Luke Cage? Luke Cage, if you've seen the Netflix show, if you haven't seen it, it is awesome. But you're still fighting uphill when it comes to representation in the mainstream media, because while having Luke Cage as an amazing superhero was awesome, and he got his powers in Harlem, and I lived in New York, so I could completely relate, he also got his powers in jail. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, you can't win here. And so it was very discouraging. By the way, again, if you have Netflix, or no, it's Disney, you should watch it. It's like an amazing show. But today, so many kids, unlike me, can actually see A-list superheroes that are people of color, from Storm and Falcon, Black Panther, obviously, Miles Morales and Spider-Man, and even Captain America today is black. If you did not know, if you buy a Captain America comic book today, it is not Steve Rogers, it is now Sam Wilson. So to be able to see A-list superheroes that represent, and this doesn't just benefit black kids, it benefits white kids as well. White kids need to see a different narrative than what the media portrays. It needs to see us as superheroes. It needs to see us as government officials. It needs to see us. And think about also the realm of superheroes. What does superheroes stand for? Honor, courage, nobility, strength, goodwill. And they're just cool. Like, these are all attributes we want to be. They're all attributes our kids want to be. And that's why it's so important to create books that kids can see themselves as. I want to spin off and wrap up, because I know I've been talking a while, and talk about my entrepreneur side, or my how side, and talk about a little bit about the difference between passion and purpose. Now, passion, as defined here, is any powerful or compelling motion or feeling. And we're all passionate about something. I just happen to be very passionate about writing children's books. But that's not my purpose. before I go into that, this great quote by T.D. Jakes says, if you can't figure out your purpose, figure out your passion, for your passion will lead you to your purpose. And I am 100% the definition of that, because I had no idea that I had this gift of writing inside of me. And once I did it and I discovered it and I made it my passion, I wanted to use it as a tool to discover my purpose. And my purpose, or purpose in itself, is defined as the reason for which something exists or is done, made, and used. And I think one of the things that are tricky about purpose is that many people have a problem finding it. I can't find my purpose. I don't know why I'm here. And that's because people are looking inward. In my opinion, purpose is about others. Purpose isn't about you. Purpose is about how you can serve others, and that is why so many people struggle to find their purpose. Your purpose is not about you. Your purpose is saying, how can I be of service to others? That is where purpose is truly defined. Writing children's books is my passion. Empowering young people to become the best versions of themselves. That's my purpose. That's why I'm here. Mark Twain once said, one of my favorite quotes, the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And the day that I got that children's book in my hand for the first time, I knew why I was here. And my purpose, again, is to inspire our young people of all ages to become the best versions of themselves. I want to talk about the 5 principles of becoming a great entrepreneur, or a great anything for that matter. For one is authenticity. There are 8 billion people on this amazing planet of ours, but there is only one you. Do not distort the greatness that is you by trying to be like somebody else. So be the best you that you can be. Secondly, perseverance. I can't stress enough how important it is to never, ever give up. Great entrepreneurs never say, I can't do something. Great entrepreneurs always say, how can I? How can I accomplish this task? How can I accomplish this goal? Because once you say, I can't, you immediately shut down any opportunity to do anything. But when you say, how can I? You open up a world of opportunities for you to accomplish your task. The word impossible shouldn't even exist, because in itself, the word says, I'm possible. Number 3 is to serve, like I mentioned before. One of my favorite quotes is by Zig Ziglar, who once said, if you want to get to achieve the things that, or to achieve your goal, the best way to do that is to help people achieve theirs. Number 4, don't focus on making money. People are like, excuse me? The big mistake so many people make in starting a business is they're focusing on money. And when you do that, you take away the why. Instead of focus on making money, focus on how you can become more valuable at what you do. When you become a value of what you do, you have made an investment in yourself to elevate yourself above others. That's why in sports, the best player is called the MVP, the most valuable player. Not the best player, but the player that brings the most value to the team, to the organization, to the league itself. So always strive to be of value and not focus on money. Accountability. It is essential for you to take responsibility for the business and you create and the life that you own. This is the only life you will ever have, and you need to be 100% accountable for it. And that also applies to our business. And I think it's important for you to realize that when something goes wrong in your business, in your schoolwork, or even in your personal life, to take accountability for that. And kick yourself in the butt when you do something wrong. Own your failures, but own your victories too. These are all yours to own. And the more that you accept that you're responsible for everything that happens in your life, the less excuses and minutia matter. And the more that you realize that your success is solely predicated upon you and how bad you want it. And the bonus one I want to give is to have fun. Somehow or another in the world, we've associated work with horribleness. Work is awful. I don't want to go to work. I hate work. Somehow or another, we've equated work to being something negative. There's only one weird thing about that. You created this job. You chose this job. So why not choose something that brings you joy? Why not choose something that makes you feel like it's an extension of yourself? So go have some fun when you go to work and choose a job that makes you happy. And final, I want to just give you my 5 truths. and I've learned as becoming an entrepreneur is one, no one is coming to save you. I know it sounds a little harsh, but again, this life is yours and yours alone. No one is coming with a check. No one is coming to write you off. And actually, it's nobody's job. It is your job to cultivate the life that you choose for yourself. 2, follow the road less traveled. The more unconventional you are, the better. I've sold over 250,000 books, yet I'm probably in only 8 bookstores around the country because I use my skill of marketing and networking and meeting people and working with organizations that empower children directly as opposed to worrying about putting them in bookstores. That unconventional way has made me a best-selling author uber times over. The more unconventional you are in what you do, and the more you will stand out and establish value in who you are. You can do anything you put your mind to, but it will come with sacrifice. Never think that this road is easy, because it ain't, and it shouldn't be. Nothing worth having comes easy. So make sure you realize that you can put your mind to anything it is that you do, but it's going to come with sacrifice. Talent is overrated. I 100% believe that. I personally am not the best author in the world. I pray to the spell check gods every day. I am a horrible speller. Yet I write children's books for a living because I work really hard at my craft. Now, if you're talented and you work hard, then you've got a master recipe for success. Lastly, you are so much more powerful than you know. So many people say, I'm only one person and one person can't make a difference. It's always one person that makes a difference. It's always a Madame Curie. It's always a Steve Jobs. It's always a Martin Luther King. It's always one person that makes a job. You are not too small. You are not too, whatever stigma you put on yourself. You are so much more powerful than you know. You can change the world in macro ways or in micro ways. Micro ways. But you can change the world. And I hope you change it along with me. Thank you for the opportunity to hang out with you today.
Awesome. I would assume that there are some questions in the audience, and this would be a great time for you to ask them. I know that Ty will be here a little after our session today. He'll be back there with his books and can answer one-on-ones. But are there any questions right now that anybody has? Yes.
Very simple question. Very simple. How do you find time to read and continue to read with, of course, a busy schedule as an adult?
Everyone can sacrifice 10 minutes. Seriously. Like, I don't say I'm going to read a book in a night. I'll tell you something I probably shouldn't tell. I read a lot of books sitting on the toilet. I mean, my girlfriend will tell you, I can spend about 10 minutes easy on the toilet. Everybody, there's no excuses for 10 minutes. Seriously, there's no excuse. And if you can get through 2, 3, 4 pages, that's about 4 books a year. Just sitting on the toilet.
Okay. Is there another question? Marcy.
She's like, I wasn't ready for that.
Woohoo. Okay, Marcy.
I wonder if, you mentioned that you do a lot of work on the East Coast. How about California? Are you connected?
That's why I'm here. This isn't a presentation, this is an audition. Like I am literally here to do the work from the full program to Danny Dollar Academy. I want to bring that here. I want the Fresno Unified School System to implement the Entrepreneur Fair in every school here. That is my goal. That is what I want. And that's what we're going to make happen.
And I would hope that there can be spread out into our rural communities and counties as well. Another question.
So what point in your career did you make the transition into motivational speaking?
It came so quickly because as I was going out and promoting my book, I'm discovering a lot of kids didn't like to read. And aligning that with bookstores wanting nothing to do with me. Like big and small bookstores could care less about you as an indie author. So I had to pivot real fast to make money. So I started doing these motivational speakings. I did a couple of TED Talks, and that helped me a lot. In my school visits, I visit schools. I don't even talk about my books. I talk about reading and why it's fun and why it's joyful. And I like to think in my presentations, if you took Dr. Seuss, Kevin Hart, and Tony Robbins, and they had a love child, it would be me. So I want to interject joy and fashion, and like the fun that we're having here is the same energy that I'm putting out for kids. And it's funny because a lot of kids don't like reading because they don't have a role model. Like there's no LeBron James of reading. You know, there isn't. There's no Taylor Swift of reading. And so when I go visit schools, we are dancing, we are singing, we are laughing, we are having a good time because I want kids to align fun and joy with entertainment with books. And so yeah, that pivot had to happen real fast, and I'm glad it did because one, I love it, and it's a value. And again, value. Remember?
Any other questions? Yes.
What was your time span between idea to reality?
So from conception of going, so it took me a year to write Danny Dollar, my very first book, and then another year to publish it. So just from conception to books in garage took about 2 years. Now, if I didn't have to publish it myself, it would have been a lot less. Nowadays, conception to books in garage takes about a year, and money, and a lot of it. I'm an indie author, so except for Make Your Own Money, that actually got published by an outside publisher. But for the most part, I literally sold my soul to do this, like my college kids' savings. Yeah, so. Which is why y'all better buy some books, you know what I'm saying?
Any other questions? I can't say enough of the gratitude I have for Ty being with us today. It has been so much fun for me, and I hope it's been equally fun for you. There was so much value in his presentation for the students, and I hope that you really took heart to a lot of those key points throughout, because they really are the heart of having an entrepreneurial mindset. And he exemplifies what it means to be able to live your dreams and to continue to strive and to change direction when you need to. There are many, many roads that we take in our careers and our lives, and I think that was really exemplified by how Ty found this passion and purpose at the stage of his life, and he's moving forward with it, and who knows where it's going to lead. So on behalf of Fresno State, the Lyle Center, and your new friend, thank you. Thank you so much. Now, thank you all for coming. This is how you can reach Ty. And he'll be here if you need to jot that information down. But we want you back, and we want you to spread the word. If you're a student, please come back, number one. And number two, please bring your friends and tell others throughout the university that they're welcome. We would love for them to join us at our next Pay It Forward, which is on November 16th, with Nish Marjarian. He's started and built and sold a number of companies. He's going to talk about his journey. He is actually currently the CEO of Plant Pathways, and I think you're going to find his story really interesting. If you're in agriculture or business, or just interested in the whole process of starting a business to the time you sell, and all the lessons learned in between, I think you'll enjoy Nish's presentation on the 16th. Also, we have our dates set for the spring. We have a great lineup for you in the spring. Ampersand Ice Cream, who had to postpone, will end up our season on April 10th. We also have District Attorney Lisa Smittcamp, along with the Honorable Sandra Schneider coming, not to talk about current affairs, but to talk about the power of mentorship. Sandra was has been a mentor to many people throughout her career. And they're going to show that it doesn't just happen when you're young. You need mentorship throughout your life. And the first one will be featuring the Johansson Transportation Leadership Team. Most, if not all of the team who will be here will have a panel discussion or Fresno State graduates. Also, Nish is a Fresno State graduate. So I hope you will join us. You'll get an invitation to come, spread the word. You're all welcome. It's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you for coming. We will work on the parking. If you need to have some help getting back to your car, there are carts available outside that will run until we get everybody to their parking spot if you need some help with that. But thank you for making Pay It Forward what it is, and thank you for continuing to come, and have a great rest of the day and the week.